You can follow the big fish strategy, the big focus on one incredible market. It could be India, it could be China, it could be the United States. Or do we follow the school of fish strategy instead, where we try to stitch together 5 or 6 markets? But those 5 or 6 markets added together become an amazingly large market.
As WiT marks its 20th year in 2025, we turn the spotlight on our community to tell their stories and share their views on the evolution of online travel and technology. Conversations on Turning 20 is the collective story of WiT. As a Chinese saying goes, 以古为鉴，可以知兴替. By using history as a mirror, one can understand the rise and fall of things.
Qunar was a great startup adventure for my co-founders and my early employees and me. And we were in mainland China. This was 2005. We were building up to the Olympics. The consumer economy was taking off in mainland China. We felt we were at the right place at the right time. And we had the right product too. Now, we didn't know we had the right product, to be honest. The success of Qunar exceeded our own expectations, and we had very ambitious expectations. But what we got to realize was sometimes the skills and capabilities that are required to succeed in China, they may not apply outside of China. And although my co-founders and I, we went to Japan, we went to Korea, we had thought, could we be a regional player? Could we be in multiple markets? We had this idea, could we be in 10 markets around the world? And we thought about that a lot. And it came down to, do we have the skills and capabilities to actually execute this plan across multiple markets? Or should we just solely focus on mainland China, where, although I'm an American, most of my professional career has been in mainland China. And so we had this trade-off to make. And what's interesting about that trade-off is for every dollar of growth that you earn in China, that dollar is worth more than a dollar of growth in other markets. And that was in particular in the early 2000s, for sure. The first, I would say, 15 years of this century, we were rewarded for focusing on mainland China. And even our competitors, whether some great well-run companies like Venture Republic in Japan or WeGo in Singapore, they were eyeing the Chinese market for the exact same reason. But luckily, that was our home market. We're always forced to make trade-offs. And one of our biggest domestic competitors, they had trade-offs to make too. And they thought about, we're going to be a vertical search engine across multiple categories. And we thought instead, you know what, we're just going to focus on travel and tourism. And they were in real estate and education and financial services and all these other verticals. And maybe that was the right strategy for them, but for us, it was just to focus. And if you focus on a big market, it doesn't matter. It's going to be big enough anyways. I think we were a little bit early in our thinking on or giving up the multi-market approach. Now, since Qunar, I have invested in other companies, and I've been very involved with 2 companies in particular that are both in 10 markets each. One is in travel and tourism, and one is in digital media. And so what we've discovered is, as the barriers to technology and distribution and the common language of technology, how we do things now is similar across startups all over the world. And there's a cohort of young people that are willing to work in a startup environment. And they all want similar things, whether they're from China or India or Indonesia or wherever, or even the States. You can, like the joke is what, free lunches and lattes and things like that. And so fast forward to the early days of Qunar to today, it seems that indeed one can be successful following a multi-market strategy. Some companies I'm involved with that are doing that. Some companies like Klook, KK Day, WeGo, Trip 101, Shibata-san's company in Singapore, those are all pursuing a multi-market strategy, and they're doing it very effectively. Now, I don't think they could have been as effective in 2005. And I get asked the questions a lot, would you do it again? Maybe. But I'm not sure. I'd have to think twice whether I pursue the exact same strategy. And what I mean by that is you can follow the big fish strategy, you focus on one incredible market. It could be India, it could be China, it could be the United States. Or do we follow the school of fish strategy instead, where we try to stitch together 5 or 6 markets? But those 5 or 6 markets added together become an amazingly large market. That's why WeGo is doing so well, why Klook is doing so well, why Get Your Guide in Germany is doing so well, for those exact same reasons. They've stitched together 6 or 7 core markets where they're super strong in each one of those markets and meet the needs of customers in those markets, and they execute well in those individual markets. But added together, they're as big as one major fish. And so the school of the fish strategy, I think is working very well for a bunch of companies, and I'm super excited to see what all those young entrepreneurs can do. I don't know if there's a secret related to the industry, but there are secrets related to my experience and my co-founder's experience. And sometimes we would laugh, even at ourselves, for being successful in spite of some of the silly mistakes we've made. And those are some of the secrets. I think one of the jokes I like to say is when I met Steve Kaufer many years ago at a travel conference, my first travel conference actually, in Philadelphia. And he said, yeah, I'm with TripAdvisor. I go, what does TripAdvisor do? I didn't even know. And that was one of the large major players in the travel and tourism space. And one of the great untold stories is, did we have deep knowledge and experience in travel and tourism? No. But maybe that's what allowed us to create an amazing product because of that, because we didn't have that legacy mindset. And we've seen it with some of these other companies. Obviously, Eric and Ethan were bankers. Ross, he was doing some online dating thing with Yahoo Japan, I think. And of course, Shibata-san, he was doing competitive skiing, right? And working, I believe, for the Mitsubishi Corporation. What's interesting about the travel and tourism industry, and I think it is a secret, is it's astounding to me how many times outsiders come in and they create amazing products and services. And after 10 years, they're the ones on stage talking about and philosophizing to the next generation of entrepreneurs. But they themselves were outsiders, and now they're insiders. And then now there's the next group of people. And some of those who attend the Web and Travel Conference, they're out in the audience. And you can tell they're the next generation, obviously because they're younger. But when you talk to them, their eyes are shifty. They're doing this. They're looking here. They're looking over here. They want to see who they should meet. They have this pent-up energy and anxiety that a well-established insider doesn't have. But these younger generation talents, they have this energy, and it's amazing to watch. And in fact, in some ways I envy it. But I did go through it myself, so I definitely didn't miss out on that. Well, but what I would say is if you had a conference of that, I would say there's probably 50 people, that core group of WiT, of the WiT community, those 50 people. And if we had a conference and we all talked about our passions, but not about travel, it would be an amazing conference. But they're also unique personalities. They have an array of interests. I just think about our friend Stefan from Cape Town, a DJ, and he's talked about that and shared with us his story about being a DJ. It's just amazing. I mean, that's weird. Or Shibata-san being a competitive skier, or just so many or Rob Rosenstein, who's an active fisherman. You didn't even know that. He loves his fish. He's always carrying these big trout, and he's so proud of that. And there's so many people who are just coming from unique backgrounds, doing unique things. And we could have a super compelling and interesting gathering without even talking about travel and tourism. And you know what? That's what I think makes this community amazing and frankly addicting. And I'm grateful to have been a part of it.